What's up everyone, so I'm going to be presenting you guys with a Smoky Mountains review video from this year. I usually don't make review videos like once I go to a place a second time, but I feel like for this year I kind of wanted to because this trip was a different experience from any trip that I've had in the past. First main thing that was like different about this vacation was the fact that I stayed in a rental house this time, because in 2017 and 2018 I stayed at Spirit of Smokies, which is now called Grand Smokies Resort Lodge. I really liked the atmosphere of the rental house that we stayed at, and I really liked the hot tub that they had there. It was definitely a memorable experience staying at the rental house because I saw a couple bears there, and around the area I saw a lot of bears. In fact, the first bear that I saw, which was my craziest bear experience, was when we were like driving to the community pool to like kind of see what it was like. I never filmed the community pool because it's kind of like a basic pool, and I didn't even really go swimming in it, to be honest, but we were just gonna like kind of see what it was like. And then on our way back we saw that bear. I feel like staying at the rental house kind of like allowed us to see more bears and have more bear sightings. We were also staying more in the Gatlinburg area and not the Pigeon Forge when we were at the rental house, and it was much closer to the national park too. I like Pigeon Forge a lot, but I think Gatlinburg's probably my favorite of the free towns. I would probably say Cherokee's my least favorite of the free towns because there's the least amount of stuff to do. My favorite town's probably Gatlinburg because I just like the atmosphere of it, and I have a lot of good memories of seeing the bears, and it's also the closest town to the national park of the free. I also like the fact that we got to have like our own rooms while we were there, and the bed that I slept on was really comfortable too. I would definitely say I like the rental house experience, and it was definitely a nice change of pace. That's kind of like the first big thing that I want to talk about. Also, like in 2017 and 2018, I didn't see a black bear once. Like literally my first year seeing a black bear was this year. I thought the only time I was going to see a black bear was when I was doing the Chimney Tops Trail, but then I saw that black bear on my way back to the rental house from the community pool. But I also saw one the next day when I was on my way to Rainbow Falls. I saw one the third day when we were doing the Baskin Creek Trail. Maybe like my most memorable experience is seeing the black bears at Anakeesta. I saw like a mom and two cubs, and I got to see them like running in the field and all that, so I thought that's pretty cute. Basically, this was like a trip that I saw black bears 4 days in a row, and the first day I saw like 3 different black bears, so definitely a memorable experience in that way because the past 2 trips I did not see any black bears at all, and it can be pretty hard to spot black bears when you're there. There's so many people that like go crazy when they see a black bear. When I was at Anakeesa and those black bears were running the field, there were like so many people that were going crazy and all that, and it was like their first time ever seeing a black bear, so definitely a memorable experience with all the black bears, and that will definitely set this vacation apart from any of the past Smoky Mountains. Also, for this Smoky Mountains vacation, I ended up taking like a new route to the Smoky Mountains. Like on the way there, we took a different route from any of the trips, and we also kind of got to see some like new rest areas. I also got to pass through Louisville, Kentucky, and I got some like footage of that whenever I made the rival video and got some really good scenes of that city. That was another thing that was different because I've never taken that route before, and it was a new experience. Got to see some new scenery. I did get a little bit of a view of Nashville on the way back. Kind of got a sunset, but it's a little bit harder to get views in Nashville than it is in Louisville, so that was kind of nice. The last main difference on this vacation was the zipline place I went to, because in 2017 and 2018 I went to the exact same zipline place, and I had like good experiences both years. But this year I checked out a different zipline place, and I think that one was probably my favorite. I feel like that zipline trip I got a lot of nice views. They allowed you to like take your phones in your pockets too, your phone's in a case. And I feel like the phone actually like kind of helped me to make sure I was recording, because I was able to use the iPhone camera to kind of like look at my camera and see like if it was on and if it was recording. So I felt like that was really helpful with this ziplining and definitely took a lot of stress off of me. Definitely a nice new experience, kind of nice to check out like a new ziplining place, and I may go back to that one because I just really like the experience, but I also do want to check out the old one again and see that place again. That was kind of like the last main difference between like some of the past trips and this one. So now I'm gonna kind of go over like some of the highlights of each day, some of the highlights of the trip and all that. Some of my favorite hiking trails I did. One of the trails I really liked was the Lum Cave to Mount LeConte. I really liked climbing up to Mount LeConte, and I kind of like getting to see that little town with the cabins and the experience of like going to a mountain summit. Like, it was a little bit different of experience than Clingman's Dome, because Clingman's Dome is kind of just like a dome, but this was like an actual mountain summit that I went to. It was only 100 feet shorter than Clingman's Dome, and I just really liked the view, and the fact that I hiked over 2,500 miles was like actually crazy. That's probably the most I've ever hiked up in elevation. I also liked getting to see Abrams Falls as well. It was definitely a beautiful waterfall, and I remember wanting to see that so bad in 2017, but didn't get to because of the drowning incident. But I finally got to see it, and it was like probably one of the most beautiful waterfalls I've ever seen. And like driving through Cades Cove was really beautiful as well. You get so many nice views, and that was definitely a great experience. Even though, I mean, driving to Cades Cove can be a pain in the butt, and also like driving through Cades Cove can also be painful as well. So it definitely takes a lot of your day. It was definitely worth getting to see Abrams Falls and just driving around Cades Cove and seeing like some of the mountain views from there. So I felt like that was also one of my favorite trails as well. And then I also really liked the Ramsey Cascade waterfall. That was definitely a beautiful waterfall. Probably like the strongest waterfall that I saw in the Smoky Mountains National Park. And I also liked Rainbow Falls too. Rainbow Falls, I actually saw like 2 waterfalls. I saw the main one and I saw a smaller one. So I definitely liked Rainbow Falls. It was a great experience. Also, I forgot to add trail that I really like too. So this will be 5 of my favorite trails. I also forgot to add like chimney tops as well, because of the fact that I got to like scale up Mountain Summit. It was over 1,500 feet in elevation, like from the start to the finish. And I got to like kind of scale up a mountain, because with Mount Lacan I didn't really do much scaling. I mainly did hiking, but with chimney tops I actually got to like scale up to the top of a mountain and climb up the mountain summit, which was kind of scary at first, but like it's not too bad, and if you like kind of watch your footing and all that, it's not too scary. So those are my top 5 trails I did on the Smoky Mountains trip. And I saw like 12 different waterfalls there too. There's 12 waterfalls I saw and 10 new ones. I also did like way more hiking on the Smoky Mountains vacation than I did in like the past. In like the past, I mainly did like hung around the towns more, but this year I did more like hiking, and that kind of actually like fit the situation with this year as well, with everything going on. In 2018, I barely did any hiking. I don't even know if I went hiking in 2018, to be honest, but this year I did like 12 different hikes, I think. Okay, so now I'm going to be doing like a brief recap of like what I did each day. So the first full day I was at the Smoky Mountains. I started off the day by doing the chimney tops. After I did Chimney Tops Trail, I went to a waterfall that was like really close to the rental house I was staying. It was called Cataract Falls. It was only 1/10 of a mile away from the start, and I went there like a couple times actually because of it being like so close to my place and like being a easy hike. I even explored a creek that was like by the Cataract Falls, and it was definitely a really nice waterfall for how close it was to the rental house. It wasn't like an actual hike in my opinion. It was just like walking to the waterfall and back. It was a 1/4 mile trip at the most. So it was really short, it was really easy, it was convenient because it's like super close to the place I was staying at. The first thing that I did the first day at the Smoky Mountains, which I actually had to split into 2 videos, I ended up going to the longest walking bridge in the US, which is actually in Gatlinburg, and I got to walk across that 2 times. I went once in the daytime and then once at night. I took like a ski lift up there, and I kind of like got to check out the little like town. And last but not least, I got to do Grotto Falls, which was like a really nice waterfall. I got to go under it and get some nice views of that. So that was basically what I did the first day at the Smoky Mountains. So the second day, I ended up waking like really early in the morning. Got up and I actually like drove to Waterfalls, hiked up there, and then explored the top half of the Waterfalls Trail and filmed the Waterfalls Trail as well. It was a really nice trail, and I actually did it in 2017, so it brought back memories of that trip when I did Waterfalls again. And then after that, I did Rainbow Falls and had a good experience there. I ended up getting to go under the smaller waterfall at Rainbow Falls, and then I also managed to somehow get behind the big waterfall at Rainbow Falls. I didn't go directly under, but I did go behind it. After that, I basically took a break, and then I went to Ober. It was kind of like storming and raining a little bit, so I didn't get to do too many of the rides, but I did get to do ski lift and go up to that one view that I remember from 2018 and have memories from that year. I did end up getting to do the Alpine coaster towards the end when things kind of calmed down a little bit. And then after Ober, I ended up going to the island. The first night I had to wait a long time for the Ferris wheel, and that wasn't really that fun, to be honest. like I'm waiting for the car. See, waiting. It wasn't my best experience, but I mean, I understand that they had to do it for safety though, and I definitely respect that, but I mean, it wasn't my favorite experience. So that's why I only did it one night and kind of made it a one night thing. And then after the Ferris wheel, I did free rides. So for the third day at Smoky Mountains, I started off the day by going to Cades Cove pretty early in the morning. And then after Cades Cove, I ended up trying to do the Baskin Creek Trail for the first time. We ended up having to turn around early on the trail, but I did get to see a black bear. I ended up having to run back to the car in the rain and got soaked and all that, so that was a crazy experience. And then like around an hour and a half later, I attempted to do it a second time as things were calming down and ended up going successful and got to see a really beautiful waterfall that I felt like was a little bit underrated. And then after I did the Baskin Creek the second time, I ended up going to the island again for the second night. I felt like the second night may have been a little bit of a better experience than the first night because I didn't have to spend an hour waiting for a Ferris wheel. So for my fourth day at the Smoky Mountains, I started off the day by doing the Mount LeConte Trail. I ended up having to wake up really early for that, but it was definitely a great experience, memorable experience, nice achievement. So that was like the first thing that I did, and then I got back. I kind of like took a break because I was like so tired, and then after I was feeling a little bit more rested up, I actually was like crazy enough to decide to do Waterfalls again. But I did get to explore the bottom half of Waterfalls this time. I honestly probably enjoyed the bottom half a little bit more than the top half and got to like do more like climbing on the waterfall that time. So I'm kind of glad that I got to go back and check out the bottom half of Waterfalls. And then lastly, later that night, I ended up going to like another smaller amusement park called Anakisa. Some of the things that you got to do there, they also had an alpine coaster, but I didn't do it that time because I already did an Ober. And then there was also like a tree bridge, and it's supposed to be the longest tree bridge in the US apparently. But the thing that was a shame is they had like the main thing closed off because of the hurricane that hit there in like April. That's why I didn't get to do like the full thing, and that was a disappointment. But if I ever go back to the Smoky Mountains and they have it open, I'll definitely make sure to do the full thing. But I did get to check out this nice lookout tower and all that, and then the views of the park were really nice. And then I got to see like the black bear and its cubs. It was definitely a nice little experience getting to see some cubs. I got to see like a little sunset at Anakisa too, which was beautiful. So that was the last main thing I did the fourth day at Smoky Mountains. So for my fifth day at the Smoky Mountains, I started off the day by doing the Ramsey Cascade Trail. It was an 8-mile trail where you went 4 miles there and 4 miles back. I still really enjoy seeing the waterfall. It's definitely worth doing the trail. Probably my favorite waterfall inside the national parks. And then after that, I did tubing down River Rat. That was definitely a nice experience. I thought we weren't going to be doing River Rat this year because of the fact that we tried to do it 2 days before. The river levels were low. And it's like, there's no way we're going to be able to do that. And I even heard that some people had to walk at some points of the tubing experience. But I mean, the day that we did it, the river levels were much better, and we mainly just did tubing. I don't even think I had to walk at all. It was a good experience. I got to do like the miniature cliff jump. I wouldn't even consider that really a cliff jump, to be honest. So those are like the two main things I actually did the fifth day. I feel like I didn't do as much the fifth day as I did the first 4 days. So for my sixth day at the Smoky Mountains, I started off the morning by having to leave the rental house. It was a really sad moment because I really loved that rental house and had so many great memories there. I did get to go ziplining after I left the rental house, and definitely one of my favorite ziplining experiences I've ever had. And then after ziplining, I went to Klingman's Dome again. Unfortunately, it was a little bit cloudy, but you did get some sunny views, but it was not as good as 2017's experience. Did a little bit of the Appalachian Trail. Then I went to Jellystone. Basically found out that they did not have rental tubes there, so I didn't get to go tubing down Jellystone's Creek. But I did find a really nice cliff jump, miniature cliff jump. It was definitely better than the River Rat because there's like a forward slant. It definitely teaches you to jump out forward and gives you practice on that. I got to like swim a little bit in the creek as well. I walked down the creek pretty far, got to explore Mingo Falls and go under the bridge and check out that place. So that was basically everything I did the sixth day. I feel like that was a really action-packed day. It was definitely a crazy day and a lot happened the sixth day. Had to switch cameras. So now I'm going to be going over everything I did the seventh day in the Smoky Mountains and like my full day in Cherokee. So basically I start off the day by doing like a 5-mile loop trail. So I saw 3 different waterfalls. I think my favorite waterfall that I saw out of the waterfalls on that trail was the last waterfall, and then my least favorite may have been the first, but I mean they were all beautiful waterfalls and definitely enjoyed getting to see them and checking them out. And then I also like explored a little bit more of Bryson City. I also kind of like walked around a little park and on a bridge as well. Did a little bit exploring, and then I went back to Jellystone, and then I went to Mingo Falls again a second time, and that time I actually got to climb up more of the top of the waterfall. I didn't go to the top, but I went like more towards like the main part of the waterfall. It ended up having a rainstorm, and that ruined the experience of getting to do cliff jumping that night. And then basically something even worse happened that day. Power went out at our cabin because of the storms. So I literally had to spend the night at the cabin with no power. And that's basically everything that happened the 7th day of the Smoky Mountains. Definitely my least favorite day of the Smoky Mountains, but I mean, it still wasn't horrible. It was still a vacation. I still got to do stuff. And last but not least, this is everything that I did the last day of the Smoky Mountains. I wanted to do a couple flips in the pool, and the pool didn't open until 9. I had to leave by 8:30, so I went to the pool at 8 in the morning, and then I did a couple flips in the pool. I left after doing 2 flips. That was like enough for me. After that, I went to Cleveland's Dome for a second time, but it was even more cloudy than the first time. And then after Cleveland's Dome, I ended up checking out like a 2.5 mile trail that featured another waterfall. The first time I thought it was like a real disappointment, but then like I saw it the second time and explored more of it, and it was definitely better once you saw like the full thing. I ended up adding an extra mile to the trail because I walked half a mile past the waterfall. It ended up being a 6-mile trail total for me. I still got to see like a really nice bridge. It was still a nice little trail that I did. So basically after doing that 6-mile trail, I ended up doing another smaller 1-mile trail, and I got to see kind of like a nice little creek that kind of reminded me of like doing Pickle Creek at Haunt State Park. One complaint I did have was the last quarter of a mile being a pain. It was like a steep uphill, and there's like a bunch of logs in the middle of the way too. But other than that, it was a really nice little trail and nice little way to end off the Smoky Mountains vacation. So basically I took the old route back home and got to see some of the old rest areas that I remember from 2017 and 2018, and that's basically everything I did the last day. I still did way more than I did in the past vacations on the last day, and if you compare each last day that I had in the Smoky Mountains, that was definitely my favorite. That's basically a recap of every day in the Smoky Mountains, and hope you guys enjoyed all the Smoky Mountains videos. Before I end off the video, I'm going to go over my best and worst day. So my best day in the Smoky Mountains was probably the first day because of the fact that I saw all the bears. I did Chimney Tops and Grotto Falls. I got to do the longest bridge. I feel like I did like the most stuff the first day and had the craziest things happen the first day. So definitely the first day, but it was like a really close tie with the day that I went to Mount LeConte. That was probably my second favorite day. It was really, really hard to decide between the first and the fourth day, but I think the first day was just a little bit better than the fourth day, but those were definitely my 2 favorite days. My least favorite day was definitely the second to last day when I was at Cherokee. I'm sorry that it took so long to like get all the videos out. I tried to like do every other day, but even then I feel like it took a while to get the videos out because so many days had to be split into 2 parts. So I really do apologize about that, and I apologize about the waits for the videos. Next videos that are coming out are the best moments, and then after best moments I'm going to be having some regular uploads again. I even have a crazy upload coming out soon where I went to Johnson Shuttons and did something absolutely crazy. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe and keep my post notifications on to see what we do next. The first half of the best moments is coming out in 2 days, so stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed everything that I did, and without further ado, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out!